Hello world. My name is Klaus Hostel, and I'm doing 100 innovation keynotes in 100 days. Today is day 100. This is the final, and the title, 100 Keynotes. What now? This is it. This is the last keynote. Number 100. So what's it about? Before I answer that question, I'm going to take off the sunglasses. Because while there's no way in hell I'm taking off the Batman jacket, the sunglasses, well, they are mostly for outdoors. Is it about how our daughter now says, Mom has to sleep and Dad has to do a keynote? She's 3 years old. She actually says that. Is it about how my better half has been an integral part of this from the very beginning and how I couldn't have done it without her? Is it about how the keynotes have been received and about what reactions I've gotten from people who've actually watched them? Is it about what I've learned along the way and what you could do if you were in my place, what I'd take with me? Perhaps it's a grand reveal of my next mad idea. The reality is any of these would have been worth doing. Maybe some of them would even have been worth listening to. No guarantee. It's none of these. Instead, I talked to one of my leadership network groups and asked their advice. And they came up with a pretty good suggestion. They said, Klaus, why don't you tell people how they can work with you? And link a few of the examples to some of those 100 keynotes you've done. I like that. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about how can we work together? Or, if we're more brutally honest about this, what do I actually sell? What is it that I do? Well, innovation. Innovation is my umbrella. It's the thing that covers all of what I do. Doing things differently, changing the status quo, trying out new ways, pushing the envelope, innovating. Now, often, this happens within one of my specialties. Experience design, something I've spent my entire life kind of in pursuit of or diving into. If that's your thing, check out keynote number 64. That's a good place to start. Behavior design is something else that fascinates me and that I usually bring to the table. Now, if behavior design is your thing, I would advise checking out keynote 51. There's also a thing about culture design that I do a lot of. If you're interested in culture design, keynote number 7 is for you. And perhaps the main one, the one that I bring to everything, storytelling, my great love in all its forms. If storytelling excites you, then keynote number 81 is a good place to start. So what does that look like in practice? What does that actually mean when we take it out of the abstract and make it concrete and real? Well, while I do a lot of stuff, it usually trickles down into these 5 options, I'm going to call them. Keynotes, obviously. Workshops, teaching, consulting, and last but definitely not least, own projects. So examples of keynotes, what could that be? Could be called How to Leverage the Power of Storytelling in the Aviation Industry, something I did not too long ago. Every brand should be a universe, and every universe should be a brand. A talk about storytelling and marketing. Also, incidentally, it's here on the list. It's keynote 15. 7 new ideas about innovation in the Gulf region. So those were examples of keynotes. And this is examples of teaching, or rather of places where I've taught, just to give an idea. For example, I've taught at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Remotely, yes, but still there, the students there. I've talked to students at the Marriott School of Management at Brigham Young University. Not only a long title, and the place is located in Utah in the USA, but also they have an experience design focus, which I love, and some really, really cool professors there. I've taught at the Center for Leadership in Denmark, and that, there's a longer list, yes, but just to give an idea of the teaching. Workshops are the third example. Transformational leadership, I still do some of those workshops from time to time. Innovation in the classroom, storytelling for consultants. And the reason I mention these is to give an idea of, even though innovation is a field or subject, it's usually innovation in something. Innovation in teaching, innovation in consulting, innovation in, what do we have here? Leadership. Doing things differently. That's what it's at the core. And speaking of consulting, what does it look like? What does innovation consulting look like? At least in my case. Well, first off, usually it's heavily NDA'd, so you're not allowed to talk about it, and neither am I for most of my clients in that space, especially the bigger ones. And then we get to use things like consultancy, what do you call it? Double talk, saying things like, oh, well, I can't tell you the name, but I can just say it's a large Swedish furniture company, or it's a foundation supported by a Danish brick company, not saying any names, or maybe it's a top-tier American consulting firm, again, not mentioning names. Now, luckily, I'm allowed to mention all these by name, so I'm not breaking any trusts or anything here, because of course I wouldn't. But that's one of the annoying things about consulting, is that the higher level you get access at, the less you're allowed to talk about, which I think is a shame. I understand why it is, but I think it's a shame, because there's so much interesting stuff going on out there. It means even though I can mention these, I just can't talk about the specifics, and some clients I can't even mention. Then I can just kind of make jokes about large Swedish furniture companies. Finally, examples of own projects. What does that mean? Well, it means I have a tendency, and I've had that all my adult life, I have a tendency to get involved with things, to start things, to help others start things, to help make things grow. That means that the College of Extraordinary Experiences, I'm one of the co-founders and the director of the college, one of the projects dear to my heart. Another is this. This is a Greenlandic ruby hunting operation. One thing that I'm really looking forward to when Corona kind of loosens its grip on us is diving into this more, because we're taking people to Greenland and we are actually letting them take rubies out of the ground using hand tools. And just to give you an example, this, now you're not going to be able to see it that well, but this is a piece of glass, and inside it, that's not just dirt. Those are specks of ruby inside this. Really, really cool. From one of our sites. So Greenlandic ruby hunting is another project I'm involved in. There's the Global Institute for Thought Leadership, which is a gathering of thought leaders in different disciplines banding together to be stronger in the pursuit of one mission, changing the world of ideas. There's the Story Dog Workshop, which is a small project that I have with a couple of American friends where we help people with, you guessed it, stories. There's the World of Hans Christian Andersen, an immersive Copenhagen experience museum that we had just gotten investors for in January 2020. And then at one of the meetings, kind of one of the meetings where we were just about to sign the deal, one of them says, yeah, let's wait a week and see what happens with this thing in China. And then both me and our CEO, Casper, said, you know what? Even if it becomes a thing, it's not going to affect us. That comment did not age well. But it's still there, an immersive experience museum, and we'll see if it happens. Maybe now, maybe in 5 years. Who knows? There's also a podcast, there's some books, there's a YouTube channel, but I don't want to feel or make it seem like I'm busy, right? I know I'm failing at that. I'm terrible at that. So even though it seems like I'm busy, plenty of time. Oh yeah. That leads me to another thing. If you look at keynote number 6, and I'd forgotten I'd put this in the slides, else I'd have done it more elegantly, but there are actually some productivity hacks there. Because I may have 1 or 2 tricks when it comes to productivity. For the record, just so it's said, I take payment in euros, in US dollars, in Bitcoin, and the only reason I mention this is because there's a nice joke, in ruby dust. So this is actual ruby dust from Greenland, several billion years old ruby dust. And I felt that deserved to be mentioned in a slide, right? Here's the important thing. All jokes aside, complete serious face. Okay, not complete serious face. There's, of course, a last thing there, which is, if you're in doubt, check keynote number 89 on innovation readiness. But if you think I can assist you, and now done with the joking, if you think I can assist you, if you think there's something I can do in your world, feel free to reach out. I just might be able to help. No guarantees, but I might be able to. With that said, it's time to say the final goodbye and good night. Thank you. Thank you all.